Yes,
meaning.
most certainly. All this sorcery and wizardry. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
that comes from an era with my friend Isaac. You know, the Ticino days, but nobody takes it serious, and everybody, like the younger generation, laughs in my face if I talk about that shit. The projection of wizardry, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's an idea, this
Yeah.
wizardry thing, it's an idea. It doesn't really exist, I don't know. I mean, like, it's an idea in science fiction and fantasy books, the wizards and all this sorcery and stuff like that. Doesn't, I don't know how much it really exists. Because I'm a skinny person, I'm not like, I
Yeah.
mean, when I watch some big dude, some really strong guy do a boulder problem, I'm not very surprised. I'm like, well, yeah. But when you're a skinny bastard and you do it right afterwards and you do
Yeah.
it better, then you're like,
Yeah.
there's some wizardry for you, man.
Yeah.
That's some wizard shit because
I
you know
mean
there's
this.
no explanation. It's not they're all like, whoa, how do you squeeze there? And you're like, well,
Yeah.
I don't know, but there's a
Yeah.
way, and you use your foot like this and your leg like this, and you focus and you concentrate and you're motivated, and
Yeah.
then that would be the kind of like the application. That would be like the kind of example. The only time when wizardry would exist was when we would do things that were a little like, out of the ordinary. You know,
Yeah.
something on a second level. You know, something that wasn't explainable. It was like more like, well, that's fucked up. How'd you do that?
Okay. So as a wizard,
Yeah.
yeah, who's maybe, I don't know how far you are as a wizard, but
Not that
at the
far.
beginning maybe. But isn't it depressing to do so many tries and realization and come up with an entirely different solution just yesterday? I mean, this
Ooh,
can't
interesting. No,
can't
the
make
solution.
you.
No, I've known the solution for years. That's pretty much when you ask me what level of wizardry have I gotten to in all those years. Yeah, they're not very much, not very high, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still in my basic, my learning stages. I'm 25 years old. I started when I was 14. I didn't even know about the idea of like how technical shit could happen, you know. But I'm still practicing, you know, and it's interesting, yeah, for sure. Look at that. Okay, so that sequence that I used yesterday, I made it through my little crux now, and like opened my whole realms, was actually off limits before. You know why? I realized this through the process of it. Okay, so there used to be bolts all over up there, you know what I mean? There's a bolt right underneath the hold that I grab now. And I remember looking at that and being like, God, I would grab that hold, maybe it would maybe work, even though it looks really bad, but there's this bolt right in front of the hand. Interesting, right? When I was here
Okay.
a long time ago, 5 years ago, I tried that sequence a lot, huh? I would
Okay.
get that hold in my right hand. I wouldn't really stick it though. So this is
Okay.
the first point. I wasn't strong enough even to do the sequence that year.
Okay.
So I didn't have the shoulder muscles or whatever it
Yeah.
is, or the thing like the tension, the
Mhm.
core tension and resistance in my body to pull that off from the ground. But I knew about this sequence. This was my beta.
Okay.
People looked at it. They always said it was heinous. They were all like, "That sucks." Nobody wanted to try it, even though they wouldn't. I don't even think people try it. They'd all look at it and be like, "Ah." So they weren't super psyched on it, and I was. I eventually bailed out on that method and created another method, right? Which ended up being the Pachi method, the Pachi Usabiaga method, and also like Sylvain Mier took a token of advice from that and did it really quickly with it too, which was just to change the grip position into a three-finger cup like this. And I don't want to be claiming nothing for anybody's success. I was just meaning that I was talking a shit ton about that because I was so crazed and maniacal about finding a system for me that would work. I would ramble on about to everybody that was trying it, like you should try this or this or this or this or this or this. They'd hear things and apply little things that would work. I remember them be coming back and being like, "Yes, three fingers, it's very good." Okay, and you're like, "Nice," but it didn't work for me. None of it anyway. I didn't have any progression out of it, but I knew this sequence a long time ago.
Yeah.
When I came here this year, I didn't even try that sequence because I was more determined to do it the other way because it was a representation to me of something I couldn't do. Interesting enough, like this is always how climbing felt for me. Is it was always represent. I always find analogies towards my life and how I was feeling at the moment. When I come here and I try and do a system that's not possible for me or my body, even though I know it. I'm like, it's like a forceful feeling. I'm like forcing this on myself. Like I know I have to. Like I want to try and do it this method. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether or not it's even, I can't do it the original method. Like what Chris did, I cannot do. I cannot do it. Where like move for move. I can't hang on that hold like this and do it from the ground. It's just slippery. I don't know if it's because of how my fingers are or whatever, or just like, I think it's always depending on your finger size and everything too, how you feel with holds. Because I can't take the holds the same way as some other people, right? So I'm in there trying to find my way, and I'm forcing myself to like do it with the same holds, with these fucking holds that I don't really like, but really trying hard to find a way. Until I realized that rock climbing is all about what I used to remember was about, and you know, take the process full circle, and then you're like kicking yourself in the ass, being like, you're goddamn right. Fucking methods that you don't need don't exist for you. Like,
Yeah.
why? Why do you try and challenge yourself to do something you don't like? So then you look at it philosophically and you're like, why was I doing that anyway? It's always like that with rock climbing. You do things for no reason, you know what I mean? It's the same when you do things in life anyway. You like put undue stress upon yourself. You work yourself up about something. You like totally overwhelm yourself with a concept, you know, even though it's
Mhm.
not necessary. You know, you
Mhm.
don't really have to worry about something, but you do. You don't really have to force yourself to do a certain thing a certain way, but you do.
Mhm.
You never have a real explanation of why you do things the way you do, except for the fact that, unless if you can recognize that it's like a extra stress or an added pain in the ass, then you're interested in why, you know what I mean? Then you
Mhm.
can look forward into yourself and discover. And that's
Mhm.
what's cool, you know?
Mhm.
So there's
Mhm.
some, maybe that's a connection with the little wizardry. Like
Mhm.
maybe like I was like I said, out of the wizardry scape for a long time. Maybe like the other day when I realized my own personal powers were worth using rather than just trying to like conform into this fucking system which doesn't work.
Yeah.
Fuck the system, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Fuck the
yeah, yeah.
system.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Fuck
I
it,
was thinking
you
this.
know?
I was thinking that it's a reminder that you're just at the beginning.
It's radical, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
an
yeah.
anti. It's a good statement. It's like,
Yeah,
you know what? Fuck you guys and fuck your beta, because everybody constantly tells me to do it the other way.
yeah.
Constantly asks me why I can't do it the other way, and they're always like, you should try again. You should try again. I'm always like, dude, it just doesn't feel good. Everybody's like, you should try again. Everybody tells me what I should do there, and they're all like, you shouldn't be intimidated. You shouldn't be scared. You shouldn't be You shouldn't be worked by. You shouldn't be this. You shouldn't be that. You should try and grab the hold like this. You should put your feet there. No matter how many times I say it doesn't work for me, it doesn't work for me. People won't care. So
Mhm.
ironically, now that I can get this intermediate, I can get here right hand, and it's like super nice. It's all liberating.
How happy are you with you figuring out things, with your solution finding, and
Hmm.
because
Pretty
I mean there's
unsatisfied.
fun.
Pretty unsatisfied, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's big. That's a big issue right these days. Is the whole like scape of things. Okay, so what's that like? I got injured, right? Took me out of my whole like program. I got injured. I didn't climb for 6 months, like for my, like at a high level.
Uh-huh.
Lost all my muscle groups and everything, and felt really weak, and lost all my confidence as well, which was very difficult. And
Yeah.
and these days, I think like for the future, I would much, I would definitely say that I'm excited to move forward for the. I want to develop my physical form a little bit, you know what I mean, in order to do some of the things I want. And the solution finding, that gets better. But it only is gonna get better through a massive amount of concentration, and I need
Mhm.
to do that again. I remember doing that in my life earlier before I got injured, and I was climbing quite well. But I put a lot of energy into concentrating on things. I'd like really focus on my rock climbing, and it's
Mhm.
really important to focus on it, or else I just don't succeed. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
If I don't focus on rock climbing, then I don't do well in rock climbing. You know,
Mhm.
if I
And
focus on lots of other things in life, then I don't do well in rock climbing. I need to
sure.
focus on rock climbing, but desperately, you
There's,
know.
there's also a problem with the physical conditioning. It's very important, and
It's very
but
important
but the
physical
problem is
conditioning.
if you take it to you still have to find a balance that you don't you're faced with a problem, and these people that are into
Mhm.
physical conditioning training, they
Yeah.
bail out.
Yeah.
They immediately the right training method jumps into their mind.
Yeah.
How could I
Yeah.
become stronger in
Yeah.
this? And they
Exactly.
leave the problem alone.
Yeah.
They don't deal with the situation as it is.
Very interesting, huh? This is the
No-
interesting thing to me is where I come from a very different school. I don't train ever. I just don't train. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? I don't like physically train myself. I don't ever think like I need a stronger bicep to do this move.
Uh-huh.
I don't ever think I need to do a one-arm pull-up in general. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But for the future things that I want to do, I'm aware that I'm gonna have to like condition my body to withstand what my mind wants to do with it. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So there's points about training that you need, but the problem is that it's all about specific techniques. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like I don't want to just get like big and strong,
No, no.
but I need to like develop that like power core.
Yeah.
But at the moment I don't really need it. You know what I mean? It's not like I need that for what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
This is all within realms of doing on a mental level. This is all stuff that you can accomplish. You can be a lazy bastard and walk up and climb biography. I still think it's not physically that challenging.
Yeah.
But for the future boulder problems,
Yeah.
I'm talking about boulder problems, pure specific movements, routes where I'm gonna have to do things that are really powerful for my body position, my whole structure. That's when I want to like develop these little things. What you're talking about with that core,
Yeah.
right there, that's
Yeah.
That's what I need. But
Yeah.
it's not like I need to be able to do a one-arm
No,
pull-up
no,
because
no,
of my
no.
biceps and my shoulders.
Yeah, yeah.
But I want to have my whole body
Yeah.
like a lot stronger in a stability sense. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I want to do really hard things with it. I don't want to injure my
Yeah, even-
intercostals. I always injure my rib muscles.
You do. Huh?
Yeah. I always like hurt my rib muscles from doing movements that I want to do. I'm like, okay, I want to cross to that hold and then cut my feet and hang on it and then put my foot back on. And when I do that, sometimes I'll injure things. Or I'll just tweak them and I'll be like, oh,
Yeah.
that's not necessary. You know, I know how to avoid that. You know, you don't have to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
But if you can prepare, this is where the technique comes in. It's like not about like, I want to go lock off every hold on that route to the top. You know, that would be another story. Like, then you train like a lot of the competition climbers and you go up there, you train this fucking massive power, and then you climb like Ramonette or Patchy, which is like amazing. You know, they climb like machines, but they're like, Jack! You know, but I see Ramonette sometimes getting pretty damn confused because I know he hasn't spent like, you know, so many years being a weak bastard training. You know, like being weak, you learn a lot about how to use your body. So then once you're weak for many, many, many years, all of a sudden you realize that in order to do your future goals, it's when it really is the time to use the body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You apply these like specific muscle groups, and then all of a sudden you can climb harder for yourself. And it's not like, or that's the optimistic viewpoint, you know? I don't want to train too much for that reason. You don't want to ever like distract yourself from being weak, which is really important. You need to be weak in order to succeed if you're that type of climber, you know what I mean? You need to like have that lack of ability in order to encourage yourself to look hard enough, you know? If you can just do it, then you just do it. I'll probably injure my tendons since they're not the strongest things in the world. Everybody thinks I have really strong fingers, but I don't know, they're not that strong. You know, they're strong maybe for close-handed things and stuff like that, but I still injure them, you know, when I get heavy. And I don't like being heavy. I just want to be strong. I mean, I can be heavier, but then again, it's like all about like just little
How much are
fractions
you
of weight.
in kilos?
Like 60 kilo, I'd say. I mean, more or less like an average, like 60, 61 kilo these days. When I was injured, though, I was like 56, 57 kilo when I wasn't strong. And then
lost the
before
little
that, I was like
muscles.
63. I was like 63 in Waco tanks, and then I was down to like 56 or 7. It was bad news. It wasn't exciting. I was like, damn it.
So if you wouldn't climb, you would be even skinnier.
Hell yeah. Yeah, no? My parents are really skinny, you know, like both of them. They're like really out of shape people. They're completely out of I mean, no, my brother, like they don't have any muscles. Like for me to have muscles, it's weird looking for them. They're always like, oh my God, look at your body. I'm like, well, look at you, you know?
Yeah.
Skinny bastards, you know? So skinny. My dad, I see pictures of him, he's like, this looks like my brother. They don't have any muscle. It almost bothers me. I'm like, you know, like, Jesus, like, don't you care? And they're like, they're ultimate wizards. They're really smart people, you know what I mean? They don't need the physical body. They're just all like, ooh, with their books and shit, you know, all like in their little other world. And that's, I can see where all my genetic help comes from. Maybe it's mental. A lot of mental help, you know, on the level of like thinking and applying different strategies and techniques and of using different thought processes. But fuck, in the physical level, those guys are like they could give me more. They couldn't have given me less, you know. It's like genetically, I feel very screwed over by them. They don't have
For
that muscles.
climbing, fortunately, that's not the worst thing, huh?
Yeah, but when you see people that are just big and strong and tall and burly, sometimes there's a little bit of envy being a skinny bastard. I don't think I'm ever gonna get bigger, you know, unless I think I'll always return to that zero skinny state, you know, without
Probably.
rock climbing, which is nice though, because it means that I can always put little groups of muscle on.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm afraid of with the tendons. I don't want to put too much muscle on because then I'll start pulling my tendons. So it's this good balance, you know. It's like I know there's a limit, you know. I'm not going to be a Ramonette. I'm not going to be a Patchy. I'm not going to be a Chris. I'm not going to be any of these really strong climbers that inspire me. Or Danny Andrada, for instance. I actually be more like Danny, I think, than anybody. I'll be a really skinny dude with fucking strong muscles. Like Danny is an incredible human body. Like he's as skinny as I am. You know what I mean? He's a skinny little dude. Like you see pictures of him when he was a kid. It's a riot. He's this skinny little bastard. It's so funny. He just trained. Like, he's such a fanatic. He's so motivated. He trained his tendons all with his body at the same time. And I hope to be there someday where I have, like, say, 5 more kilo on me. I'm never going to look like Danny, but I'll be strong like that. I'll be able to use one finger pockets because I fucking do it over the years. And everything gets stronger with itself. You know what I mean? But this fanatic progression is what I'm looking for. For training, I think that's going to be good for me to just, like, get into those modes where I'm like, come on! Gain some power, you know, but Danny did that over the years, you know. I think the fanaticism is what's gonna get me there, like the fact that I relate on that level of obsession. I'll be like, look, Udo, I can do 5 one-arm pull-ups, and I'll be like, you know why I did this? This is just so I can do it, just for my own confidence level, just to like tell myself, like, you are not weak.
But you're a wizard, you don't need that.
No, but you know, wizards can make themselves do whatever they want. That's the point. You know, if I feel like I should be doing 5 one-arm pull-ups someday, then I'll do them for sure.
Yeah.
You can always fool yourself. It's always a level of disguising reality and trying to convince yourself of how to believe. You know what I mean? I can believe in some things. I can believe that I'm a wizard, that I can do everything with my mind, and that I'm gonna be fucking strong as all hell for all years in the future. But that might not convince me. Instead, then I might have to lie to myself or something.
Absolutely.
I might have to be like, you know what? you need to do a one-arm pull-up now, and then you're going to be really strong, and then all of a sudden I'll be really strong afterwards because I told myself. You just need to be confident.
Yeah.
And that's what I lack, and that's what you say when you wonder what for the future. Maybe I'll just regain my confidence again as a climber, because it really did disturb me. It really took away my like capability to tackle my visions, you know. I was like, I can do that. I'd like get on it and be like, I can't do that. That's impossible. Physically, this is impossible. Like, I can't hang on these holds. And I was so warped around this physically impossible thing. I didn't do shit many times. And then I realized that it's so mentally possible, everything. It was such a trip, you know. It was like such a confusing experience. I was like, I used to know this. Now I'm learning it again. This is so weird, you know. Like, I used to know that it was mental. And now I'm realizing that. And I don't like this because it means that I've been, like, totally warped.
The main difference between you and a 7C boulderer.
I think that all of those things, I can climb most of them in my sneakers, and I think because I understand how they work. It's not because I'm stronger physically, it's not because of that. I think I just see where to go, you know, where to put your body in. For myself, at least, I'm like, okay, well, for sure, I'm going to put my foot there, and I'm going to lean over here. I'm going to reach that hold, and then it's going to hurt, and then I'm going to put my other foot up, and that's that. I know
like
where
a
it's going to
chess
be
player.
physical. Yeah, you kind of see, like, you're like, yeah, which is odd, you know, because 7C isn't that challenging. It's ironic, but some people are really challenged by 7C, and then you're like, you do it like this and this and this and this and this, and they're like, what? And you're like, well, works for me, you know. That's what I'm meaning. Also, finding the confidence in that, to be confident that you can solve all those little things. You look at it, and you're like, I swear that's how it works, and it does always, for me at least, every time.
Talking about this, like with a 7C climber, is it sometimes frustrating if you talk to climbers that have problems, say, with 7C, how little they understand, how little their understanding of climbing is?
No, it just makes me think about it, like how they might see it. I don't know. I don't know. No, never frustrating really, but sometimes confusing. You're like, how will it work for them, you know? They got a certain body type. They got to understand certain feelings of movement, you know? I think it's more interesting. It's like the school of climbing. It'd be like trying to teach somebody a karate move, and they'd be like, I can't get that position right. Or maybe it's like yoga when they're like, I can't get my ass to stick up in that position. I don't know how you guys do that. And you're like, well, you just got to do it a bunch. I mean, I don't know. Just keep doing it, you know? Keep bending and pushing, and they like push the body around, and they're like, that feels so fucked up. And then like later on they do the position properly. It was like me with the downward dog, like people making fun of me royally, like, you're fucked, you like totally can't do that. And then over the years, like, it's like 20% better, you know. So it's maybe the same for people that are like on the road of progression. They just have to feel the positions out and learn that that's actually true, that you can actually do that. Like when somebody's like, the footholds are shitty, just drop your heels and lean out, they're all like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm like this, standing on my toes. And you're like, if it's flat, you know, you have to like put your whole foot on like that. You can't like put your toe on a flat thing. Like that's why the foothold feels bad, is because you're trying to stand on the little edge. You're not trying to put your whole foot on the whole spot, like the angle, and just put your weight onto that angle, because you can like stand there, you know. But then people are like, no, no, no. But they go to Fontainebleau for 6 months, and then all of a sudden they're like putting their foot on every angle, and they can't put their toe on anything small. And you're like, dude, you need to stand on that small spot. You can't just smear on it, you know. So it's interesting. It's like always this. It's all technical stuff, you know what I mean? It's just understanding little angles and positions and stuff like that. All these little lines that cut around you, where these spaces you have to be in.
Yeah.
So spatial. People can't understand that math and that geometry. It's a very geometric, mathematical thing to know where the spaces are and to see where people are. And you're like, well, your ass is out of the box. You need to. There's all these lines cutting through you, imaginary spaces where you're going to save energy. If you can be in those imaginary boxes, then all of a sudden you'll be just fine, you know? Like, and they'll get in the box and be like, whoa, I can hang right here. And you're like, yeah. Now you need to be in that box and go to the next hold. And they're like, oh. And then once you get that next hold, the box alters and you need to move into the next box. And some people feel it more naturally, and some people are like, don't see the lines and don't feel the boxes, you know what I mean?
But you're interested in sharing this.
Hell yeah.
This is something you
Hell yeah. Which is always interesting to me to see about strong climbers too, is because a lot of, I mean, I'll always love giving my beta out and telling people everything I know, but I know a lot of people that would never fucking tell me their little secret tricks, like what they know, what they discover, like, oh, this is the perfect little foothold. I see them using footholds, and I'm like, what do you do with their feet? And they're like, oh, I don't know. They don't want to tell me, ever.
Bullshit.
Nobody wants to fucking share sometimes.
Yeah.
I think it's really fun to share, though, because I like to talk a lot. It's fun. It's like the most fun about climbing is to like all be a part of everybody. Everybody's climbing. It's obviously their experience, but it's interesting how everyone you can like gather together and like make improvements, you know?
Yeah.
There's no wonder why it's like nice to have all your friends there supporting you and be like, when you're really frustrated, they're like, well, come down and then maybe try it like this or do that, or you talk about it, you know. Interactions are always inspiring, you know what I mean? I'm pretty psyched on climbing, and I don't like to rest, and I get bored out of my mind. I usually climb 2 days on, 1 day off. That's my classic pattern. Or I'll climb 3 days on, 1 day off. Or I'll climb 4 days on, 1 day off. Or I'll climb... I rarely take 2 days of rest. Maybe I'll do 1 day of rest and then 1 day of climbing not so hard. And then climb harder the next day. But I don't usually have the patience to sit around. So when a route like biography, since I really want to do it, I try and rest the least possible. Like, I probably could deserve 2 rest days right now, but I don't know if I can handle that ever, technically. Like, tomorrow I want to do the route. Today I want to do the route, and I'm sore. You know, I can't, even though I'm looking at like the weather and being like, tonight will be good. Maybe I could just do it.
And how about resting between tries? Like, do you have a good instinct for that?
I do. No, I actually usually succeed, even though I usually do I do things that aren't technically correct. You know what I mean? I'll like try a route and get really worked up and be like, God damn it, lower me, and then go back, tie in, and do it. And I'll be way more pumped than I was when I first started. You know, for instance, you'll like pay for that stuff, you know. You make serious fatal mistakes and then you're like, come on, now you're gonna do it pumped, you know what I mean? And I can do it pumped.
It takes the pressure away too, you know.
Takes
then
the pressure
mental,
away. Yeah,
mental
exactly.
Stuff,
but it's so much harder, you know, when you're pumped. Wow. Oh, in 2020.
Yeah.
It's only in 13 years.
Yeah.
Wow, well there'll be strong people. I mean, I'll be, how old will I be in 2020?
Still okay.
I'll be like 39 or something.
Yeah, still not too bad.
Well, I hope to be really strong at 39, like Ben Moon was at 30. I mean, like, you know, like he's improving. He's 43 and he did his first AP plus, or 42. We'll have bolted a lot of routes that we'll be seeing getting done that are probably out in the 10s. I'm saying in 2020 there'll be 10s being climbed. It's not going to be 9s, it's going to be 10s. It's going to be like 9C is over with, 9C plus is over with, because it's all combination at this point. It's like people can climb 9A really easily in 5 years, 10 years from now. People will be doing 9A like that. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden they'll be like, well, 2 9As isn't that bad. And 2 9As is equal to what? 9C plus or something. And all of a sudden they'll be like doing a 9A into a 9A plus, and that'll be like pretty rad because they'll get a rest, and we'll be all like, yeah, fucking A. If we were capable of doing that, we would have. We could realize it was possible, but maybe we'll just get as far as doing 2 9As in a row.
But
or maybe farther.
I mean, this is kind of depressing thought. If the only progress is just that things will get longer, no, that we don't want.
Well, that's
this
an
to
ironic
happen.
problem. I foresee that like route climbing is going to get a lot more popular, and I think there's going to be a lot less people due to the way that the climbing's being marketed these days. I think it's going to be hard for the Europeans to break out of their route climbing grain, and I think the Americans are going to go forward with bouldering like hardcore. I think there's going to be a lot of really hard futuristic bouldering being done, but I don't think everybody from Europe's going to be able to apply it for a long time, even past 2020. Maybe perhaps we'll have the hardest routes in the world being put up by random, like, rogue people from Europe that really got psyched on the whole, like, extreme end of climbing, because I don't see that many that are psyched on combining it. You know, I don't see, like, the strongest boulders in Europe putting up routes with the boulders in them. You know what I mean? You can't have, I mean, personally, by 2020, I'll have hoped to done a boulder, at least 8B plus boulder in a route. My goal is to improve the grading scale would be to do, like, you know, something like 8C to an 8B plus boulder to an 8C without a rest. That would be really capable. I think I can do that even right now. I can do that. So I don't know how hard that route would be, but we have routes that are like 8C to an 8A boulder to an 8C, and that's probably like already 9B, you know? It's like really hard, or 9A plus or something, you know?
Oh, what is the crux of realization? The upper?
7B plus.
Oh, okay.
It's piss. It's like not hard. It's a 7B plus boulder. I mean, come on. It's like 8C plus to a 7B plus boulder to a 7B route with the rest. It's pathetic, you know? So this is the point where it seems really possible to excel things quite fast, you know? It's like not that hard. We should not fall so many times, which is why I was saying it makes you feel like a dumbass when you learn so much about like simple progression, you know? That's one style of futuristic climbing, though. There's going to be the dynamic style, and there's still going to be the combination of static and dynamic, you know what I mean? It's not always going to be this kind of like, I mean, for instance, like the younger generation these days does jumps that I can't do, but I can fucking do those jumps in a different beta and be like, why are you guys jumping? It's retarded. You don't need to jump. You do a little jump. You don't have to like hurl yourself from low down, hit the hold, and then tag your foot on the wall. You can like get the crimper, lock off, put your foot even higher, turn your hip in, grab some intermediate, stand in a scoot position, get your foot on, and then jump and hit the hold and then kick the wall. You don't need to like do this dramatic, like massive thing. You know what I mean?
Riverbed boulders.
Oh, that's rad. That's
the
what
things
I'm
where you
into,
cannot
though.
pull in.
Yeah, of course.
And then,
yeah, it's gonna be cool. I like it
because
already.
there's very little done, and there's so many riverbeds.
I put up quite a few riverbed 8Bs, at least up to 8B and that stuff, and it's gonna be getting hard. I think that the riverbed will be cool, but I think there'll be more in. I don't know. For some reason, I think that the bouldering is gonna get done now. It's gonna be a combination of up to 2020. You were saying to 2020. You know what I mean? Riverbed's almost too futuristic for 2020. Riverbed stuff's like out there. I know a lot of riverbed projects where I'm like, well, this is more than physical power. This is like physical and mental power. You're gonna have to be like the strongest physical creature on the planet and have like really dry skin. You're gonna be really conditions dependent, and they're gonna have incredible technique with body positioning on holds. Like
And
people
fast.
like John will do really well in that shit. Like
Yeah.
because he has compression power. Like the younger generations are really physically strong with all this compression and dynamic stuff, and they have good skin and stuff, and they stick really well. The irony is, it's like gonna be all this like funny, like old school people like me are gonna get fucking worked on that shit. It's gonna be too burly, and it's gonna be like I'm just gonna be like I can't hang on this. I'm sweating. It's just gonna be a simple failure. Like be like you can't do that because you sweat. If you sweat, you're gonna get fucked on the river stuff, because I know so many things in the river things that are so possible, but you really need ultimate friction. You know, you need to.
And the speed, your processing speed of the brain, you don't see this as a problem.
Me, no, that's not gonna be my problem. I'm gonna have physical problems forever. Brain things are always gonna be like I'll always see a method. You know, I'll always be like it works like that probably, and I'll probably be able to do it if I couldn't do it. But it's never about the speed in the mind. You know what I mean? I think the processing speed that the young guys learn in the gym is way higher than mine for plastic moves, right? But I don't think that's necessarily going to be necessary to apply to rock climbing. I don't think it's about that with rock climbing. Rock climbing is not going to be, plastic's going to go its way and rock climbing is going to go its way. You can't go in the gym and do these radical progressive movements and take it outside and do them on rock, because people like me will find methods around them no matter what. You know what I mean? There will never be like the pure jump that they want. You know what I mean? There's not going to happen unless it's like a really unique thing, like the most unique jump in the world, where it's like pure jumping rad shit, and then I'll be like, nice. Yeah, I'll be impressed like hell. You know what I mean? Because it'll be really pure, and I like pure things. But I still think the exercise and finding sequences on rock is beyond anything that's the processing power of rock climbers. Like looking for sequences is going to be beyond the gym climbing thing, because it's too one-dimensional still. They don't make complicated gym. The walls in the gyms aren't complicated enough. They don't have enough different structures. They're not three-dimensional enough. They're not like, they don't have as much variation as you can find in natural hard boulder problems. Because I don't know. There's a good example. Like there's this boulder problem that I climbed out in Colorado. This boulder problem, the suspension of disbelief, and it's got pretty high processing thought. I mean, you got to do a jump at the ending and stuff. But the younger guys, they can't. They didn't do it that fast. I climbed it really quickly, and I swear it's not that hard for me. It's like, you know, and then it jump. It's hard to jump. I don't like jumping way off the ground. It's scary. I feel like I'll hurt myself. I don't want to do that. That's being old. But the bottom part, right? These guys are so strong in the gym. I'd go climbing with them in the gym. They do these jumps that were retardedly difficult. And they do these compression things that were incredibly hard on slopers and stuff. And then we go outside to the slopey compression problem, and they'd just be like they can't even get in the positions. And you're like, dude, rock over your foot. Like, come on.
I mean, big part
just
of,
spatial.
Of it is, but it's also on a smaller level. I think many of the plastic climbers don't have this finesse with their fingers, to put their fingers on to use the little structures of the rock ride.
Yeah.
You see this pretty often too, you know. It's not even their body, the right position, but it's on a smaller.
I think they just concentrate on grabbing things in a simple way.
Exactly.
They don't concentrate on finding the slightest difference in variations in positions, you know.
Yeah.
It's not ever like you have this it's not as simple as it looks. It looks simple to them because they've made things very clearly simple. Like you grab a hold and jump to the next one, your feet cut off, and that's that. And there's no bitching, moaning, talking about everything, like stressing about it, developing theories, nervousness. There's none of that in mental experience. I even have that all the time. I try and explain to those guys sometimes like how a move feels for me, and they're like, that's not how it feels to me. That's stupid. You should just do it. And you're like, well, I can't just do it. You know, I have to go through that process to do it. I can't just do it. You know what I mean? Can't just grab it and jump. There's more than that, you know what I mean? There's more. There's like my fingers need to be like this, my hips need to be like that, my feet need to be here, here, and here, and I need not to be a pussy in the moment, and not be scared, and go for it, you know? And that's key. And then it's so funny to see the looks you get from some people. They look at you like you're like so caught up, you know? Like you're so confused, like you're so like, You need to just relax, dude. Just relax and jump to the hole and kick the wall or whatever, and you're like, yeah, they should have a grade, but they should just be people should just understand that like the grades are going to be different from rock climbs. You know what I mean? They'll never be that. People can never reach what nature reaches. You know what I mean? Nature creates things way more interesting than humans will ever be able to create. That futuristic stuff that you find on real rock won't be, the chip roots will never be futuristic, you know what I mean?
No.
They'll always be behind the times because futuristic roots are already existing. They're all there, you know what I mean? The whole cliff is full of futuristic stuff. I mean, if you chip a root, it's not futuristic, it's old school already.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like reducing it to like a state of nothingness.
Come back to Europe
Oh, I
as soon
will.
as possible, and don't waste too much time. And
In America, of course not.
Cool, thanks.
Come back to Europe.
No problem, man. I'll come back to Europe, don't worry.